And this is Blake in Washington. And he wants to know about fake studies or homeopathic medicine. So, hi, Blake. How you doing?
Hi, guys. I'm doing well. Hope you are well as well. Dr. Ben and Kelly, I wanted to just ask what your take is when people present you with fake studies as evidence of their claims, like in homeopathy. I can give you a short example. My mom was a lifelong diabetic, type 2, well, not lifelong, type 2 diabetes. And somehow she got convinced by a naturopath that blueberry leaves and cinnamon sticks were going to help her manage her sugar levels. And she was admitted to the hospital with a 750 sugar and died shortly after that. But she got taken in because they said, here are all these studies, you know? But when you look at the studies, they're awful. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that is.
I guess it's a kind of a mission of mine now. Oh, I'm sorry. There must be a delay.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just kind of a mission of mine now to get people to look at PubMed and Google Scholar and actual studies as opposed to buying into the crap that these people are pushing as studies.
Right. I absolutely agree. And I think a problem too is that, number one, this is unfortunate within the scientific community as well, is that the paywalls that a lot of these studies are behind, that not everybody can get access to, which then if you can't get access to legitimate studies, then you're going to go to whatever articles are on the internet. And that might be from Dr. Oz, or it might be from some naturopath or whoever. So unfortunately, access to information is part of the problem. But then even when you get people to get access to legitimate studies, they're not written at a level for lay people to interpret them. Because you can show a chart that shows a correlation, and the majority of the public isn't going to understand what a p-value is. And you can show a correlation and not have a good p-value, and somebody's going to believe it because they just don't know. Like the questions that I'm going to ask for why a study should convince me are not going to even come up in somebody else's head who hasn't studied it. So I think kind of a lot of the issues here too are people. I think part of it too is the scientific community not knowing how to communicate to lay people. I think that needs to change. We need to get better at communicating at a level that is more understandable. We need to remove these paywalls. And also, I think people are wanting to buy into these ideas. 'Cause we talked earlier about black and white thinking and how people, like, cognitively, we desire to take the least amount of effort to get to an answer. And for a naturopath, this is the least. They have to put no effort into saying, yes, this natural thing is going to cure you. Whereas my diagnostic thought process is a lot. Like the amount of work I have to go through to think of one little thing for somebody is a lot. So I think all these factors together kind of make this a problem.
Definitely.
But Kelly,
I get stuck on things like trying to explain to people, like, this thing that you're showing me that you're calling a study has no methodology, doesn't show any number of participants, doesn't explain how they blinded the study, doesn't explain if it's been peer reviewed or anything like that. It just makes a claim.
I've seen a lot of really bad studies out there too, and you'll often see that these bad studies aren't coming from the same source as the people selling the cure. Right? I as an example, I remember looking at I had somebody was telling me about how magnets were good for your health, and sent me a link to a study that was done by a company who was selling the magnetic jewelry for your health. And I actually read the study because, you know, I'm gonna look at it, and they had a group of 3 people and no control. So they gave 3 people magnetic bracelets, and all 3 people said they felt like they were getting better. So this person actually thought that was a real scientific study.
Yeah.
And we got, so
Mike
you got to,
Lindell did the same thing.
yeah, right. You have a problem, like, just like Ben was saying, is people don't understand how the really good studies work, because they're done in a different language. Every profession has its own language, and unless you know that language, you're going to get lost. So we need to make these things more accessible and more readable by the public, I think.
Right. And
Ben, you
I
think?
think, and Blake, something that if you're going to be talking to other people about this, I think a tactic you can use, just like if you listen back to the call about Qigong, like you can take that kind of approach. Like if you have somebody that believes in certain naturopathic or homeopathic remedy, have them, like, number one, ask them to describe their understanding of how this treatment works, because then you can gauge where they're coming from, what they believe the influencing factor is. So ask them that, and then if they give you studies, like, cool, at least like have their baseline of where they're coming from, what their perspective is. And then you can do that little exercise that I did, like say, okay, so this is the result you think you got from this treatment. What other factors could be involved? What other things could have caused you to feel this way? And like have them make it a collaborative thing, like, because people oftentimes will listen if they're the ones thinking of the solution to the problem. So if you go through the problem, say, okay, what are 3 things that could also have this same effect? And they could give you some other things, and then say, how could we determine which one of these is correct? And let them come up with the study on their own. And then there you go. They've come up with a study, and then maybe they'll understand the rigor that needs to put into it. So that's a tactic I like to use. It doesn't work for everybody. But as long as they're willing to talk with you about it, I think it's a really fun way to engage in the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think I agree with you. I think where I get tripped up is I still have a little bit of anger, and I come back with, you are actually killing people with this kind of crap, especially when it's a practitioner.
Right. No, and that's
right.
and that's true. And
especially
I will say,
because of your experience too, right? I'm sorry, Ben, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're good. I think I have a little bit of a delay right now, but even with that, like, my tactics, I would take different tactics with a practitioner than I would with a person just buying into the ideas. Like, I think that the gentle approach that I like to take, that's more with the person buying into it, because they're not at fault. I don't think that those people are at fault, and I want to be more gentle with them. With a practitioner, anybody that says they are a professional, I will hold them to the exact same standard that I would hold a medical doctor. And I'm going to ask them the same questions, the same, I'm going to demand the same p-values, the same everything. And I think in that case, when they understand the liability that they hold and that they don't know the answer, I definitely take a more aggressive approach with those people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we help at all, Blake?
Yeah, I think so. It's the aggressive approach with the naturopaths that I get frustrated with, because they aren't accountable to anybody. I mean, there's no board that's going to remove their license. There's no,
right. That's why
nobody is going to shut down their business, or.
That's why I ask them the questions I do. People. Like, there's a method in medicine that may or may not be as productive as we think it is in medical education. But like, no joke, we call it pimping. It sounds terrible. But I tend to use the method because it's a way to humble the person you're having a conversation with. So if you're holding them up to the standard of a doctor, which, like, in this case, like, if you're a resident and you don't know everything, like, you're not going to know everything as a resident, but you're attending, is going to ask you those questions, rapid fire questions, ask you what your thought process is to get through this. And kind of the goal is, number one, to understand your thought process, how you are actually thinking through the problem. And then part of it is to shame you enough so that you go learn about it. Because then you understand that, hey, I don't actually know enough. And that's a tactic that I'll use. Like, and you'll see this sometimes on calls where I'll rapid fire people some questions about physiology, because if you're going to claim to be an expert, I'm going to hold you to that standard, and I'm going to ask you questions that I would ask an expert, and you just embarrassed yourself. And I think, while I don't like the embarrass tactic for everybody, I think it's very harsh and can be counterproductive for some people. it's necessary, because I think it's necessary for the public to understand that this person should not be trusted with their medical care. And so some cases like that, I'm totally on board for embarrassment.
Good call. I really appreciate the input, you guys. I thank you so much. And I'm going
to agree with you, Blake. This was a good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really appreciate calling in. We're over time right now, though, so I am going to let you go. If you'd like to call back in and check in with us, let us know how your studies have been coming along in this. We'd love to hear from you in the future. So, all right.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Now, and before I do anything else, we got a super chat from James Call, and he has given us $5 and said, hey, I got here late, but damn you, SDB, for dragging my old frazzled brain back to embryology and developmental biology classes.
Oh, man. Yeah. Anybody that has taken embryology knows that that is a doozy of a class. It's probably one of the worst classes, not worst as in like content-wise. I think it's fascinating stuff, but it is one of the hardest classes you will ever take in medical school. And I think I noticed too, James is a new member, if I got that right.
Yes, he is.
Thank you for becoming a channel member. That is amazing.
Thank you very much, James. And with that, I think we're going to wrap it up a little bit. Have you said to your, thank you, Ben, for coming? I guess totally got lost. Both my brain cells got stuck together. Where can we find you to learn like you were talking about your YouTube show? Let's plug it.
Yeah. So tomorrow you can find me on Medical Myths on Student Dr. Ben on YouTube. That's going to be at, I'm on Pacific time. So it's 12 p.m. Pacific time. It's 3 p.m. Eastern time, talking about chiropractic medical boards. But you can also find me on Talk Heathen. I'm a main host over there. So I think the next time I'm on is in the middle of April sometime, or maybe early April. I think I'm on twice in April. So come hang out with me on Talk Heathen. And I don't know the next time I'll be on other shows, but you can find me all over the ACA. I'm around.
Thank goodness we can find you all over the ACA too. I always love watching you, Ben. Stick around, because we are going to be hanging out in the atheist community of Discord for a short after show. You can join us there at tiny.cc/ACD Discord. A lot of I wouldn't say a lot of the hosts, but quite a few of the hosts of the ACA hang out there. So you can come and join us anytime during Discord, maybe catch some of us to talk to. And remember, we want the truth. We want you to tell us the truth. And our prompt for this week is to invent a useless superpower. Put it down in the comments. We'd love to see it. We're going to pick the 3 best answers and tell everybody about them next week. And if I can stop being so tongue-tied, I will say goodbye. And that's it for tonight. I'm your host, Kelly Laughlin. And remember, always remember to keep wanting the truth. Goodbye, everyone.
Watch The Non-Prophets and join the hosts in the live chat, Sundays at 3 p.m. Central, between the Atheist Experience and Talk Heathen. Visit tiny.cc/YTNP.